But I wanted to start with these couple of verses. And they read, God is indeed good to Israel, to the pure in heart, but as for me, my feet almost slipped. My steps nearly went astray. For I envied the arrogant, I saw the prosperity of the wicked. And I'm reading from the CSB. I'm sorry, I'm not my Christian Standard Bible, my Tony Evans Bible. Um, this is the basis of what I have for us today. I know we have been in the intimacy series, and we're talking about just being more intimate with God. But what happens when you feel like you're doing? You got to make me the host, Dylan. What happens when you feel like you are doing that? So we're in Women's History Month. Still in the intimacy series. I just wanted to review some of the concepts that we have been building upon since we've started this. And our working definition of intimacy is the state of being acquainted or familiar. Intimacy should include open communication, healthy body image, healing from past traumas, and a desire to please God. And it is private, personal, intentional, and fruitful. We've been talking about intimacy with Christ, and I just want y'all to grab your notebooks and pens and Bibles because you know I got scriptures. We go on there. Um, we were talking about intimacy in the way that like is drawing us close to God and how we want our relationships to be. But what happens when we feel like we're doing all of that and nothing seems to be happening? My woman is the Shunammite woman. Please turn to 2 Kings 4, 8 through 16. And we're going to stop at verse 16. Maybe I should pull it up here. Okay. Someone can read from the screen, please.
One day, Elisha went to Shunem, and a well-to-do woman was there who urged him to stay for a meal. So whenever he came by, he stopped there to eat. She said to her husband, I know that this man who often comes our way is a holy man of God. Let's make a small room on the roof and put in it a bed and a table, a chair and a lamp for him. Then he can stay there whenever he comes to us. One day Elisha came. He went up to his room and lay down there. He said to his servant Gehazi, call the Shunammite. So he called her, and she stood before him. Elisha said to him, tell her, you have gone to all this trouble for us. Now what can be done for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or the commander of the army? She replied, I have a home among my own people. What can be done for her? Elisha asked. Gehazi said she has no son, and her husband is old. Then Elisha said, call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. About this time next year, Elisha said, you will hold a son in your arms. No, my lord, she objected. Please, man of God, don't mislead your servant. Keep going.
No, I want you to stop there.
Okay.
I want us to just sit with that for a moment. Um, Sit with the story for a moment. So in verse 8, we see that the woman shows hospitality to the man of God. In verses 9 and 10, she recognized that Elijah is a man of God, so she built a place for him to stay. Verses 15 through 16, Elisha promised her a thing that she secretly desires. But this is the thing about the Shunammite. Think about the thing that you really, really want, but are afraid to say that you want. The thing that you have been longing for, the thing that you have been praying for, fasting for, putting in the face of God, truly putting in the face of God. And it seems like nothing is happening. But you see others who are able to rejoice in the very thing that you want. That thing that is like a scraped knee, right? It hurts. It's painful. But you want to keep it covered up. You don't want anyone to touch it because it brings you so much pain. This is the thing that the Shunammite woman wanted. Having children in biblical times was not just about having children like we have children today. Children represented the favor of God. And the more children you had, the more favor is to be thought that you had. Think about it like this. She had been married for some time. We don't know how long. There's no timeline. She was able to accumulate the wealth on her own because when the verse 8 says that she was well-to-do, they didn't say anything. She was independently wealthy outside of her husband. Her wealth was not predicated on her husband. She was successful. She was smart. But she was missing something. This is something that she had sowed tears in. Something that was heavy. Something that she longed for. Something that was so painful that she didn't even want to speak about it. As a woman, she had it all. Business, husband, relationship with God. Every other area in her life was perfect or well-to-do. The subject of her not having a child is something that would make her upset, something that was a trigger, something like that dull ache in your knee. In verse 16, we say that she objected, please, man of God, don't mislead your servant, because she has been here before. She has been in this space and in this place before of having a child. We don't know if she had become pregnant in the past and miscarried or just was barren. But we do know that this child was more than just having a child for her. Think about that desire that you have. I like to think about it like this. She had her business, her husband, her house, everything, all the trappings, right? And she's just going about her daily life. And I wonder how she felt when people just watched her work and told her she would be a good mother. I wonder how she felt when people asked about her having children, how did she feel to know that the very thing that she longed for, that she knew that she would be good at, the thing that she desired the most, she did not have? Despite her relationship with God. And we can infer that she had a relationship because she was able to recognize that Elijah was a man of God. Let's continue reading. Someone can read for me, please.
But the woman became pregnant. The next year, about the same time, she gave birth to a son, just as Elisha had told her. The child grew, and one day he went out to his father, who was with the reapers. He said to his father, "My head, my head." His father told a servant, "Carry him to his mother." After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat down on her lap until noon. After the servant had lifted him up and carried him to his mother, the boy sat down on her lap until noon, and then he died.
Keep going.
She went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and then shut the door and went out. She called her husband and said, "Please send me one of the servants and a donkey so I can go to the man of God quickly and return." "Why go to him today?" he asked. "It's not a new moon or the Sabbath." "That's all right," she said. She saddled the donkey and said to the servant, "Lead on. Don't slow down for me unless I tell you." So she set out and came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. When he saw her in the distance, the man of God came to his servant Gessi. "Look, there's the Shunammite.
Mm-hmm.
Run to meet her and ask her, 'Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your child all right?' 'Everything is all right,' she said. When she reached the man of God at the mountain, she took hold to his feet as it came over and pushed her away. But the man of God said, 'Leave her alone. She is in bitter distress, but the Lord has hidden it from me, and she has not told me why.'"
Keep going.
Okay. "Did I ask you for a son, my Lord?" she asked. Didn't I tell you, don't raise my hopes?" Elijah said to Gehazi, tuck in your cloak into your belt, take my staff in your hand and run. Don't greet anyone you meet, and even if anyone greets you, don't answer. Lay my staff on the boy's face." But the child's mother said, "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So he got up and followed her. Gehazi went on ahead and laid the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. So Gehazi went back to meet Elijah and told him, "The boy has not awakened." When Elijah reached the house, there was the boy lying dead on his couch. He went in, shut the door on the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Then he got on the bed and laid on the boy, mouth to mouth, eyes to eyes, hands to hands, and he stretched himself out, and the boy's body grew warm. Elijah turned away and walked back and forth in the room, and then he got on the bed and stretched out on him once more. The boy sneezed 7 times and then opened his eyes. Elijah summoned Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite," and he did. And when she came, he said, "Take your son." She came in, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. And she took her son and went out.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole lot there, which I did that purposely. Again, think about the very thing that you didn't even want to talk about, and you kind of stopped asking God for. You were given it. And then it dies.
Mm.
The thing you wanted, you didn't ask God for. This man of God comes into your life, gets your hopes up, dies. The mom that she always wanted to be, even though she thought she wasn't going to be a mom, the child dies. Hmm. I just want us to sit with that for a moment, because there are desires and things like that we have that we haven't spoken to anyone else. We may or may not keep talking to God about it in prayer. But the major key, sometimes the very thing that you pray to God for must be sacrificed in order for it to grow to its fullest potential. Again, in the poem that I had you guys listen to in the beginning. Hold on, let me pull it up. Sorry, y'all. My life is but a weaving between my God and me. I cannot choose the colors he weaveth steadily. Oft times he weaveth sorrow, and I in foolish pride forget he sees the upper, and I the underside. She was in a position where she saw only what she could see at that moment. Her child was dead. Her dream was lost. Her motherhood was gone. But she went back to the very person that told her that she could have it in the beginning. She went back to the man of God to let him know what had happened to her child. I'm not sure if he caught it, but even within the scripture, Elijah said that God had not revealed to him what was going on. We have talked about intimacy being personal, private, intentional, and fruitful. I believe that her faith is a byproduct of the open communication that she had in her relationship with Christ, well, God at the moment. But we could say that she had favor. Webster's defines favor as friendly regard shown to another, especially by a person in authority. But when you look up favor in like the blue light or whatever, they always closely related to grace. You're going to get grace more than you get favor. And grace is unmerited divine assistance given to a humans for their regeneration or sanctification. But the root word is Greek, charis, meaning graciousness of manner or act, literal, figurative, or spiritual, especially the divine influence upon the heart and its reflection in life, including gratitude, acceptable, benefit, favor, gift, grace, joy, liberty, pleasure, and thanks. We can say that this woman had all of this. And I believe that she did. I believe that God saw her desire. He saw that this was something that she greatly wanted. Maybe one of those things that she detached herself from, where we want something so bad from scripture or from God, that we try to focus on other things and not think about it, because the thought of that very thing is too painful. So God granted her request and showed her favor, grace, Charles, and gave her son back. But the story continues. A lot of times when we get into this particular story, the moment is when her son comes back. Elijah does that. That's usually where the preachers, as Donna says, that's the shouting moment. But let's go over a couple chapters. Chapter 8. Remember, we said she had favor, grace, Charles. 2 Kings chapter 8 reads, Now Elisha had said to the woman whose son he had restored to life, Go away with your family and stay for a while wherever you can, because the Lord has decreed a famine in the land that will last 7 years. This is the second time we have seen in her story the number 7, completion. The woman proceeded to do as the man of God said. She and her family went away and stayed in the land of the Philistines 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, she came back from the land of the Philistines and went to appeal to the king for her house and land. The king was talking to Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, and he said, Tell me about all the great things Elisha has done. Just as Gehazi was telling the king how Elisha had restored the dead to life, the woman whose son Elisha had brought back to life came to appeal to the king for her house and land. Gehazi said, This is the woman, my lord the king, and this is her son, whom Elijah restored to life. The king asked the woman about it, and she told him. Then he assigned an official to her case and said to him, Give everything that belonged to her, including the income from her land from the day she left this country until now. The story doesn't end with her getting back her son. Her story ends with her being fully restored back to her original wealth. My life is but a weaving between my God and me. I cannot choose the colors, he weaveth steadily. She was only able to see the underside, the hurt, the pain, the confusion of not having a child, having the child die, and having the child be resurrected. My life is but a weaving. God orchestrated in his timing, in the perfect timing, to give her a child that needed to die so it could be resurrected, so that 7 years after his resurrection, she could be restored back to her fullness, back to the wealth that he had accumulated, that he allowed her to accumulate. This story, I felt like, was very, very close. Because we all have that thing, that desire, that wanting of something, of a promise, of a life, a child, marriage, business, that sometimes has hurt because we haven't seen any movement on it. We haven't seen that God has done what we thought he should, or moved how he should have. We stand with those who are our friends in prayer and believing of the promises of God. And sometimes you get to that point where you feel like, my God, I am doing all of these things. I am committed to you. I am faithful. But it hurts, God, to hear that I'll make a good wife, to hear that I'll make a good mother, to hear that my business will flourish. God, I see others around me flourishing in those areas where, God, it seems like you just have completely ignored me. God, when will it be me? When will it be my turn? When will it be my turn to experience those moments of joy and happiness? When will it be my turn to appreciate your abundance? I don't have an answer for you. This story is something that is very, very close to me because I feel like I'm the Shunammite woman, waiting on the promises that I didn't necessarily ask God for. You had said that, and I had not said that. But it's through the intimacy in my relationship that has helped in the gaps. It's through the intimacy with Christ and being able to let him know how I feel. Again, I don't necessarily have an answer for you, but you can see that the story didn't stop with her and the resurrection. Her story ended with her restoration. Her story was complete. Her son awakened 7 times sneezing. 7 years after that, she was restored. So I just want you to sit and think through, what is that dull ache? What is that thing that that's your trigger? Not necessarily like a trigger that makes you angry, but a trigger that gets you emotional. What is that thing? What is that area? And I just want you to bring it back to God's attention. That's all I got for you.